What's up, this is Stephen Bloodworth, and this is my review of Scary Stories, A Tribute of Terror, written by Curt Tuckfield and illustrated by Shane Hunt. As a kid growing up, it was always a treat to walk into my school library around Halloween and take out one of the Scary Stories books. The Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series is a series of short stories written by Alvin Schwartz and illustrated by Stephen Gammell. The first Scary Stories book I laid eyes on when I was a kid was the second one, More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It became a constant battle between myself and my classmates determining who would take out the book for the week. Eventually, it became too much of a hassle, so my father took me to the local Barnes & Noble and bought me all 3 books, and I still have my copy to this day. And this is in what's called the Scary Stories Treasury. Now I didn't have to wait for the book to be available to borrow because I had all of them to read whenever I wanted. I had no idea that More Scary Stories was the second book in the series, the first book in the series being called simply Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. The stories in the first book that stick out to me the most are probably The Hook, High Beams, and The Ghost with the Bloody Fingers. Then I discovered Scary Stories 3, Tales to Chill Your Bones. I think it's without a doubt that myself and every one of my classmates, and probably just about everybody in the world who has read any of the Scary Stories books, can say that the most frightening and talked about story is Harold. We were kids, we were dumb, and we liked making fun of names sometimes, so my friend just looks at the character and just starts laughing when he sees that his name is Harold. And then he read the story, and he still cannot say the name Harold without getting the chills. Sometimes when I was a kid, I didn't read the stories. Instead, I looked at Stephen Gammell's artwork and, judging from the artwork, created my own stories in my head. And speaking of artwork, whether you like or dislike Alvin Schwartz's writing, it's without a doubt saying that Stephen Gammell's illustrations are still some of the most terrifying illustrations in all of horror history. I always ask myself, why was there never a 4th Scary Stories book? Fast forward to present day, I'm an adult and I am still terrified by the stories of Alvin Schwartz and the illustrations of Stephen Gammell. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark holds a large cult following, which inspired a movie titled Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and even a documentary on the books released by Wild Eye talking about the controversies behind the books. In my school, everybody loved these books, teachers loved these books, and even our librarian praised Alvin Schwartz's work. After the release of the film, word spread that there would be a new Scary Stories book with stories from several different authors, including R.L. Stine, titled New Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. All of the authors involved in this project are part of the Horror Writers Association, and they say that the book should be released this year, but there's been no updates on the project, and I assume it's gotta be delayed, especially with COVID. So a few weeks ago, I was searching online trying to see if there was any updates with the new Scary Stories book by the HWA, and I was floored to see something entirely different. It turns out there was a 4th Scary Stories book published, but not by the HWA. And that 4th Scary Stories book is titled Scary Stories, A Tribute to Terror. The stories were written by Curt Tuckfield and illustrations were done by his friend Shane Hunt. In the introduction to the book, Curt Tuckfield explains that he was a kid, like many of us, that loved the Scary Stories books. Also disappointed that there was never a 4th story, he always imagined what it would be like if there was a 4th Scary Stories book. Curt explains how him and his friend Shane Hunt would talk about these nightmares that Curt would have, and he would ask Shane if he could illustrate what he would see in his dreams. They always pitched the idea back and forth on, what if we make our own Scary Stories book? Originally, they intended only for there to be 2 copies of this book, one for Shane and one for Curt, and that was that. But then they decided the true fans of the Scary Stories series deserve to read these stories. And I must say, I'm really happy that they decided to go down that route. Before we get any further, I just want to explain that this book is dedicated to both Alvin Schwartz and Stephen Gammell, and even Curt Tuckfield and Shane Hunt had all the support from Alvin Schwartz's family in the making of this book. When it comes down to the stories contained in this book, Curt Tuckfield does a really good job at keeping that classic Scary Stories vibe, but implementing some things based on modern day. One of my favorite stories contained in this book is titled The Fortune Teller, about a woman who goes to a fortune teller's booth, and the fortune teller explains that she is in for some great danger. The woman doesn't believe him, but the fortune teller ensures that he is always right. I'm not going to go into any further details, but I must say, the ending is very shocking and very effective. One of the more gruesome stories in this book is titled Dog Food, about people that work for a factory that produce very, very low-grade dog food. The manager's a jerk. One of the employees decides to take a stand and confront him, and let's just say it doesn't end well for that employee. There's no one story in this book that I can call my favorite, because every story in this is simply my favorite. I read one story thinking, okay, that's good. Then I read the next story. Ooh, that's even better. The next story. That's even better than this one. It just continues to build up. It just gets better and better the longer you read it. The illustrations done by Shane Hunt are a fantastic tribute to the works of Stephen Gammell. Shane Hunt definitely has that same artistic feel that Stephen Gammell had, but the illustrations, obviously being in 2020, seem a little more crisper and more in, if I could say, HD. There are some very gruesome illustrations, however, they're more polished compared to Stephen Gammell's artwork. For a rating, I'm gonna give Scary Stories: A Tribute to Terror a definite go check it out now. The stories are just as scary, just as terrifying as Alvin Schwartz's, and the illustrations by Shane Hunt are absolutely disgusting. If you're interested in picking up a copy, then definitely check out ScaryStoriesTribute.com. Link will be in the description. There you can buy an actual physical copy of the book, and you could also purchase a PDF copy of the book as well as an audiobook. But if you're a thrill seeker like myself, then the version to go for is the Creepy Collection, where you get the book, the PDF, and the audiobook for a very good price. But again, the only way to get it is by going to ScaryStoriesTribute.com. Shout out to Curt Tuckfield and Shane Hunt. Amazing job on the book, and I sincerely hope you guys decide to do more. I am looking forward to checking out the Horror Writers Association's Scary Stories book, but it feels much more special knowing that fans of the series went ahead and created their own book. Not only creating their own stories, but managed to get it published and got permission and support from Alvin Schwartz's family. So for that, Curt Tuckfield and Shane Hunt, keep up the great work, and I really hope to see more from you guys in the future. So that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you so much for coming by and checking out this video. If you're new to my channel, definitely hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for all of my latest videos posted every Monday and Friday. And also be on the lookout for 31 Days of Horror beginning October 1st. 31 Days of Horror movie reviews. And also make sure to follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, to stay posted on what I'm doing behind the scenes of making these videos. And before you click off this video, don't forget to hit it with a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below saying if you've gotten this book before and you want to see Curt Tuckfield and Shane Hunt do more books in the series. Until next time, take care and stay scared.